course, when I go live, then my kid and my dog and, everyone else gets to add into the chaos. Speaking of which, it's really quite common for one of my kids to come busting in and saying something really cool. But we roll with it because that's how life is. And we accept it and we love it and we just don't fight it, right? Don't resist it. Okay. So welcome to Monday. I'm going to talk about something really super important. When I was thinking about what to talk about tonight, I thought, ooh, I should really just start at the very beginning, the very best place to start. And I actually just read a really beautiful post from one of my clients that I worked with. And man, she got deep and real and raw. And I was like, I love this. Being completely vulnerable and sharing her story. And it was absolutely beautiful. So it was great for me because then I got to see the beautiful effects, right, that her session has had on her. And it was so delicious for me to read that. And I'm just really happy for her and being able to see that. So I'm going to talk to you tonight. Hello, Braden. Where are you guys? I'm going to talk to you tonight. Can you please not let Stetson come busting in my office? About vibrating at higher frequencies. And how do you get yourself to that spot? Because I get it and I understand and I know not everybody has the resources, not everybody has the time, not everybody has the capability to, have therapy every day or have healing sessions every morning, right? And so my goal is always to try to offer you as much as I can give you to help yourselves, okay? And honestly, every single thing that I do with a client is something that you can do for yourself, but you have to get, to the space to do it. And you have to kind of be on your own healing journey to get to that space to do it. And so I wanted to start at the beginning of like, how do you get, like, what are some little itty bitty teeny steps that you can take, right? I was having a conversation with a friend the other day and she was making a comment about how, there are just moments where you just want to be like, screw it, right? I'm just leaving. I'm packing up my bags. And then you start having like the guilt from it, right? Because you're like, I could just walk away from my job and walk away from my spouse and walk away from my kids and just in this moment, in this space, not feel guilty about it. And I just don't care. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit because you're not on the crazy train. And if you treat yourself like you're on the crazy train, then you actually will become like you're on the crazy train. And so we're going to talk about how we shouldn't resist that, even though when we're looking at it, we're like, whoa, this looks really ugly, right? For me, I don't want to live in this space. And it's okay because we're not living in the space, but it's okay to be in the rabbit hole. I love Alice in Wonderland, by the way. So if you're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. The rabbit hole, that's where you get to your space where you're like really emotional and really feeling like you've lost control and you start falling down the rabbit hole, right? And then you get at the very bottom and you're just like, here I am. And then you start, doing the drink me potions and whatever with the ultimate goal of you need to get back out of the rabbit hole. And my whole mantra about that is it's your healing journey. That's why you're here, is because you want to be able to get back out of that rabbit hole on your own, because we're all going to fall down it. It just is the way it is. It's just how the book goes. You can't permanently stay out of the rabbit hole. And the more you try to permanently stay out of the rabbit hole, the harder it is to stay out of the rabbit hole. Yes, because what we resist persists. So I'm going to teach you tonight how to be a little more okay with your venture down the rabbit hole and understanding that it's okay to be down there. We just can't live there. So we're not going to pitch a tent in the rabbit hole, but if we fall down the rabbit hole, I like to go for a visit. I like to say hi to the Cheshire Cat, visit the caterpillar, whatever. And then, it's time to go home. So it's okay though. So let's talk about this in a sense of vibration. So There are ways to measure vibrations of everything, and everything has a vibration. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, my little business card has a vibration. My cell phone has a vibration. My pen has a vibration. My home has a vibration. My water has a vibration. Everything has a vibration, and your body has a vibration. It's highly energetic. It's highly capable of being manipulated by outside energetic sources and magnets and all kinds of stuff. Okay. So when our bodies are measured and we're feeling happy and we're feeling joy, our bodies are measured at a really high frequency. And when we're feeling frustration and shame and doubt and all of those lower end where you just don't feel very well, right? And you're in depression, anxiety, those lower end levels, those are measured to be at these lower vibrating frequencies. So let's talk about why we care about this, right? Why do I not want to run around my life vibrating at these lower levels? Because maybe I'm just like, who cares? You know, this is the way I like to play the victim. I like doom and gloom. So I'm just going to sit in my space. That's fine if that's what you choose to do, but just know that there are some things that happen when you do this. Number one, the biggest thing that's associated with vibrating on these lower frequencies, which is one of the really cool things about this little gadget that I use. Hello, Rose, how are you? The Healy, right? I can scan a client and it'll tell me that their highest thing to focus on is immune system and cold. And my client will be like, well, I don't know. I don't feel like I have a cold. Fantastic. Because is what's going on is our cells show the imbalances before we ever feel things. Why does my dog do that? I swear it's like he smells the live. He smells that I'm live and he's like, I'm just going to start barking because I know you're live. Murphy's Law, right? And now the kids are going to start screaming and, you know. So vibrating at lower frequencies is when we get sick. It's when we get ill. Certain places in your body that are chronically affected and then are painful or vibrating at these lower frequencies. And so that's why you don't want to be stuck in these spaces, because you tend to, if I'm already feeling really depressed and I'm already feeling really frustrated, what's going to happen when my dog starts barking, right? I'm trying to be live and I'm having a mental breakdown. Or my kid tells me that he just lost his shoes underneath the neighbor's trampoline, and the neighbor's trampoline is a in-ground trampoline, so you can't get under there. And so he now doesn't have any shoes. And he's like, hey, mama, can you tell daddy to go buy me some new shoes at Walmart? And I'm like, why? Well, because my shoes are under the neighbor's trampoline. And this was the second time this happened tonight because I already got them out once. And I was like, whatever, right? If I'm vibrating at these low frequencies and I'm already feeling tired and depressed and sad and angry, what am I going to do? I'm going to blow up at my kid. He's 5. He doesn't know, right? He's like, seems simple enough. Just have my dad go buy me some new shoes. And the cute little neighbor kids are so cute. And so they brought his shoes over. So all is well. But if I'm vibrating in a state where I'm in a lower frequency, then I'm going to freak out at my kid, right? And then what am I doing? I'm damaging my child. I'm damaging my communication with my kid. I am creating and setting the tone for my house, which, you know, I don't really like that responsibility, but I definitely, as an overbearing, energetic person, feel like I definitely hold that calling here in the home. But Dave has become very, very much aware of his ability when he walks in the door, because he's usually the last one to come home, that his vibrational frequency and his tone when he walks in the door plays a huge effect on our family. So if we're all like super getting along and then Dave comes in and he bursts in and he's just not in a good mood and we can all feel it, right? Everyone scampers to their bedrooms. But if Dave comes in and he's like, hey, what's everybody doing, right? Then everybody stays and talks and it's great. So your health, your energies, your communication, your relationships with the people in your home, huge player on frequencies. But the biggest one of all The real reason, not that those other two aren't really important, the real reason you want to get control of this is because you attract the same vibrations that you're giving out. So sometimes people will come to me and they're skeptic about the energy healing process that I follow, and they'll say, does this work for everyone? And I'll say, yeah, it does. It has the potential to work on everyone, but I can tell you one super easy thing that is going to make it work better for you. And they're like, okay, dude, I'm game. What is it? And I'm like, just have some gratitude. And they're like, okay. And I say, no, really, living in a space of gratitude will create a better life for you than anything else that you can do. And in fact, I try to be a really big stickler when I sit down with my clients, and I always say, okay, before we get started, you have to tell me something beautiful that happened to you since the last time we met. And sometimes it takes people a minute, but here's the beautiful thing that happens. So sometimes they're like, I can't really think of anything. And I'm like, find something that you're thankful for. I start naming some stuff. I don't even care if it's super simple. And once they get one little thing, then comes the flow of everything else. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then this happened. Oh, yeah. And I forgot to tell you about this, right? And I can automatically feel their energy change as they're starting to think about things that they are grateful for. So, feeling grateful for something is the fastest, easiest way to bring your vibration up, because that's always the question, right? People are like, well, I watch you all the time and you're so sparkly and bubbly, blah, 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 blah. But how do I get this for myself? Like, how do you get yourself to that spot? Gratitude is the easiest way. I catch myself doing this in the mornings. So I am a very routine person, and my shower is my grounding of the day. It's my energy source. It's like plug me in. And after I get out of the shower, I'm good to go. But there's sometimes where I get out and maybe I'm not really feeling it yet. I'm not really feeling it. And so then I'll be like, okay. And I can't remember if it was this morning or yesterday, but whatever. I think it was yesterday. I was kind of not really in my groove yet. And I thought, okay, do what you talk about, like find some gratitude. And I sat there while I was getting ready, and I really did. I started looking at everything in my bathroom, and I was like, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for this. Ooh, this is really cool. I'm so grateful, right? From seeing medication to realizing that, like, wow, like 100 years ago, I didn't have access to like simple Tylenol. I mean, toilet paper, right? I had a post on my page like 3 days ago. There was a memory about how I needed to, like I was making a joke, right? On my sarcasm about how I needed to spend my day. I think it was like a list, and it said like, number one, I'm going to pay the mortgage. Number two, I'm going to make my car payment. Number three, I'm going to pick up a bag of potatoes from the store. And number four is I need to figure out an alternative to toilet paper. And I was like, look at us. I mean, I know it hasn't been easy for everyone, and I know lots of people have struggled, but here we are. Like, we just lived through a year pandemic, right? I know lots of you have had trials and have lost loved ones, and that is never a good thing. But at the same time, we have to celebrate the things that we do have and the things that we still have control over, because we can't change any of that. And it's like, wow, I'm going to tell you, there's probably a moment back in the pandemic when it started that I let my mind get out of control. And I really expected by now that I would be living in a covered wagon in my backyard, living off of chicken seed that I have hiding in my cellar. And here I am, right? And things have happened along the way. And I can't say it's been completely smooth sailing. And those of you that follow me know that I just lost like a really close loved one. But here we are. Like we're here. We're here. So if I live in a state of worry all the time, what am I going to attract? Things that make me worry. Okay. Think of my kid is yelling. If I live in a state of fear, what am I going to attract? Things that make me scared. If I live in a state of anxiety, what am I going to attract? Things that make me anxious. If I live in a state of anger, what am I going to attract? other things that make me angry. And so for those of you that are out there and you're trying to have relationships with people, when we're vibing in these lower levels, we're trying to have beautiful relationships with our parents or our children or our spouse, and we're vibrating at these lower levels. Yeah, we're not very pleasant to be around, and they don't really want to talk to us. And then everybody's being really snappy with everyone, right? And it doesn't feel good. Or, potentially you're doing this at your job and you're like, oh, or you're dating. If you're out in the dating world and you're like, why am I attracting all these people that are crummy? It's because of the vibration that you're getting off of. Yet you are giving off. You are a magnet for the same thing that you are giving off. But it can be fixed, right? Things to stay away from. So gratitude brings you out of it really quickly. Guess what gets you right into it really quickly? Complaining. Complaining will get you into the rabbit hole faster than any other life thing can do for you. Complaining. People who complain constantly are vibrating on such a low level that I have 100% committed to myself that I will just absolutely not be around you. Period. ... You have to come to my level. I don't do complainers. There are even people that sometimes I work with when I do sessions and I'm like, that's it. Like, no, you need to go on your way. There's probably another practitioner that enjoys this drama. Like, I get it when you get with me and we're working on stuff, but if you're like every week, that's it. Like, you're complaining, and then I'll be like, okay. And then after you complain for 5 minutes, suddenly you're like, oh, so I'll give you an example because this one's actually happened. Somebody comes to me and they're worried about I don't know, I don't remember what it was. Let's just say they had sleep apnea. Okay. So let's say they usually go 7 days without being able to sleep. 7 days. Let's just say in a 7-day time frame, they only sleep through the night one time. Okay. And then we do a session and now we get back on there and they're just this, and this. So before we started out working on sleep and now it's my shoulder and my knee and yada, yada, yada. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Got lots of stuff to work on. How's the sleep going? Oh, it's just crappy. I'm like, okay, sweet. So define what that means. Well, I slept. I on Monday, I didn't sleep at all, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I slept really well. And Friday, I didn't sleep very well, but Saturday, I slept good. And then I'm like, hold on a second. So previously we were 1 day out of 7, and now I don't know what that was. Now we're 3 days out of 7 or 4 days out of 7 or whatever. So we're showing progress. And then they'll be like, yeah, but I didn't make it the whole week. And then I'm like, okay, right? Because my cognitive brain is like, what is wrong with this picture? Your cognitive brain has to be in alignment, right? The people that are really easy to work on that get great results out of doing sessions with me are the ones that are like, I had a full night's sleep. And then I went 2 days without sleeping. And then I had a full night's sleep again. And they're like, woo, progress. And I'm like, yes. And then that's how they view life. And that's how their life starts to change. And then next time we meet, it's like 5 days, right? And now we're down to 1. And it's all just because cognitively, they've already started working on themselves. Cognitively, like I can do all the subconscious part and I can make it easier for you to stay with that. But man, oh man, put in some effort. Complaining about things gets you nothing. Nothing but attraction to negative things. I remember telling Dave when I was pregnant with Kinley, she's our heart warrior baby. When I was pregnant with Kinley, I remember telling Dave, I'm like, your mom lives in such a negative space. Like she is such a woe is me. I mean, literally this woman like, oh gosh, like that's how she is, right? And I was like, I really need you to tell your mom that when we tell her that our baby girl has a heart defect, I don't want any negativity, right? Because I was trying to do the most that I could do to be positive about the situation that we were given. Sure, I could let my brain go wild and think about all the horrifying things that could happen, okay? But I chose to live in a space where I tried to find the positive in everything that happened. And so we specifically told her, like, you are not to sit and be negative about this. So every time I see you, I don't want you to be like, oh, right? I didn't want that. Like, no, I want to give my baby girl the most positive energy that I could give her. And this was before I even started on my own healing journey. So I have no idea what I was doing, but I was attempting to try to manifest this. And, did everything play out the way that I hoped that it would? Absolutely not. Did everything play out as worse, as bad as I thought or imagined that it could have? No. And some of you may be sitting there thinking, how's that possible? Your little girl passed away. She did. But I can think of a lot worse things that could have happened. She could have been traumatically suffering her entire life. And instead, she was able to get this beautiful freedom from the horrible things that were taking a toll on her little body, right? Besides that, I have her now, and she is a huge part of my ability to reach other people and to help other people. So yeah, I'm here for this short little time and I'm without my baby girl, but I know she's there. And I know that when my time has come, I'll be able to embrace her again. So don't live in the space of complaining. Now I'm going to tell you about something else that can be really, really difficult, but this is the second part of this. When I was telling you before I went live that I started reading a post that someone had shared about her experience doing a session with me, she had got incredibly vulnerable and she admitted it at the beginning. She's like, this is raw, this is real. I'm going to share it with you. She uses some pretty strong language and, I admire that for her, whatever her expression is. And she put it all out there. She talked about mistakes that she had made, and it was beautiful to read because it plays so well into this part of what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And this is sitting with your shadow. And this can be a really hard thing to do because we have been taught all our lives that anytime we come in contact with our shadow, or all of the things that you've created your shadow out of, are things that people have put you down for, things that people that have made you feel bad about who you are. They're all the things that you've suppressed about yourself that you've been taught are what makes you a bad person. And that is what your shadow is. So a lot of you are like really afraid to sit with your shadow. You have no idea what your shadow looks like. You don't want to touch it. You stay as far away from your shadow as you possibly can. And that actually creates more of a problem for you than you will ever imagine. So sitting with your shadow initially can be really uncomfortable. I can sarcastically laugh about it and be like, it's like going on a blind date with someone you know nothing about, because your shadow harbors everything. And I told you this a few times ago when we were doing this, that all those things that you have that can comprise your shadow, they're actually just things that you need to turn down, right? So if I have being really direct and overly opinionated and honest with people, that doesn't necessarily make me a bad person. That just means that I have an attribute that I need to tone down. And when I tone it down, it can actually become one of the most beautiful things about me, is that I don't allow people to walk all over me, right? So sitting with your shadow, that's part of it. It's addressing all these things that you think are really ugly about yourself, and then sitting with them and being like, okay, feeling these things allows us to not repress them. And when we repress them and shove them back there, the problem that comes is, and let's use the scenario that I think is all too common. We are graduated and we get married and we buy this cute little house. And then we're like, oh, well, having babies is fun. That's what we do. And so we have our little babies, and then no one tells us about anything. And no one tells us about anything that goes on in life, from hemorrhoids to children playing and finger painting in their poop, to the lack of sleep that you're getting, and the fact that you are a zombie and you realize that, you're wearing your husband's underwear. Like, it just goes on and on and on, right? Like, one day I actually took the clothes and didn't put them in the wash machine. I put them in the dryer, and this happened to be a load of people's underwear. So that is not recommended. It smells hellacious, and you basically cook the stingy odors into the clothes. But this is the kinds of stuff nobody talks about, right? Like that's not how you imagine your life. And then things happen like you get a divorce, your spouse takes their life, you become widowed because your spouse passes away, car accident, like whatever it is, you lose a child, your parents pass, like on and on it goes, right? And you're just overwhelmed. And suddenly you're sitting with yourself staring in the mirror and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? And you don't recognize who you are. You're 150 pounds heavier than when you got married. You're getting gray hair. Half your hair is falling out. You don't really know when the last time you took a shower is. You're wearing mismatched clothes, right? And you're just and you're looking at it and you're like, this is not good. And then you start having guilt because you start being like, what has happened to me? And so now you're playing into it because you're like, this isn't what is this, right? And you're comparing yourself to your friends, lady next door doesn't look like this. What is going on with me? Now you start building on it and now you're getting into this really bad spot. And now, you get to a point where you're numb. And then you start realizing that you're having thoughts like, I don't really know if I want to be a mom. And then you freak out because you're like, oh, did I really just think that? Right? Or you're like, thoughts pop into your head. Do I love my kids? And you're like, oh, and then all these stories start flooding you of like the people that, drive their kids off a cliff and you're freaking out because you're like, what is going on? So let's shut that thought, right? Put that back into your shadow. Or maybe you're like, I don't really know if I want to be married anymore. My spouse is driving me crazy. And then you're like, did I just think that? Shove it back, right? It goes back in the shadow. So here we are, and 5 years later, we've got 6 kids. And we're basically running on 30 minutes of sleep every 3 days. And suddenly we have a freaking complete mental breakdown. And we have lost our ever living minds and we don't know what to do. And nobody's going to come out and be like, oh, yeah, this is normal. People feel this all the time, right? Because you're like, no, something's wrong with me. And then that becomes a shadow too. And you're like, something's wrong with me. And now, you're just adding to the backpack. And now you're wondering why you can't walk around with it. It's because it weighs so much. You've got so much shadow going on that the zipper's busting open and you're spilling shadow all over the sidewalk and now everybody can see you. And now you're freaking out because now you're trying to pick it's a mess, right? You get where I'm going with that. So you got to sit with yourself. You got to sit with yourself and recognize you're a human being. We all have thoughts. We all have feelings. We all have moments where we're like, that probably wasn't the best thought that could have crossed my mind. There's a difference between having a thought and acting on it, okay? Your human brain, your little peon human brain doesn't really stop itself from having immediate thoughts. So yeah, if I see, I buy a box of Girl Scout cookies and they're sitting on the table and I'm like, I'm just going to eat all those and I'm not going to give them to any of my kids. Right? Initially, I'm like, oh, did I just have that thought? Like, am I a bad person? Oh, I'm such a bad person because I'm trying to put myself, no, I'm not even going to have any cookies. I'm just let my kids have them. No, sit with yourself. Wow. Yeah. You know what? You're right. I do want to eat the whole box of cookies. Okay. Feel it. Love it. Yep. Is that thought kind of a little maybe selfish? Sure is. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't mean I'm actually going to do it. Right? No. Breathe it in, clear it out. You can even have a little self-talk, that thought about that person maybe wasn't the nicest, but I'm not going to stop myself from having it because then it represses and it becomes this little ball of yuck and I'm carrying it as my shadow. So I'm going to sit with my shadow. Yeah, maybe I really don't like that person. That's okay though. They can be them. I can be me. What they're doing really isn't affecting me. So sit and feel it, breathe it out. Yeah, you know what? You can do whatever you want. I'm going to do me, you do you. Don't repress it because if you're like, oh, I just had that feeling. Oh, I'm a bad person because I'm thinking negatively about someone. Right? Then I just turn this into like this big catastrophe when instead I'd just be like, that wasn't a very nice judgmental thought. But I'm going to feel it. Yep, I did. I judged someone. Let it go. You know what? I shouldn't care because I don't care what they're doing. I have these little talks with myself all the time. It's a beautiful way to do some self-therapy. So you got to remember, right? You're a human being. Thinking is different than acting. I want to eat all the cookies. You're dang right I do. That doesn't mean that I'm going to, but that's what you have to do. You got to sit with yourself. Like, why am I having so much guilt about taking care of myself? Right? Because you've been taught that that's a bad thing. Taking care of yourself, good people put everyone else first. And that's what you've been taught. And then you think, if I want to put myself first, I'm a bad person. No, you're not. Sit with yourself. Why have I been taught? Why have I been taught that putting myself first makes me a bad person? And then I see my shadow. Oh, I know. It's because someone told me that that's selfish. It's not okay to put myself first. I see that shadow. Now, just me acknowledging it and feeling it helps it to dissipate and go away. There's nothing wrong with putting myself first, because when I put myself first, I vibrate on a higher level. I vibrate in a higher frequency. And what happens to me when I vibrate on a higher frequency? I'm healthy. I'm happy. Oh, I also have more energy to give to other people. So let me get this straight. If I take care of myself, which I've been taught my entire life is the wrong thing to do, if I take care of myself, is what you're saying is, I actually will be able to give more to other people and take a better care of my family. Yes, 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 yes. You have to focus on yourself to vibrate at a higher frequency. Now, I had this completely backwards in my head. When I started down this journey, I was doing it all wrong, because this is what I started doing, because this is what I was taught. I was taught to vibrate on this really beautiful spiritual awakening that I was searching for aimlessly with my religion, that I had to be serving. That's the only way to get there. I had to be giving, serving, taking meals to everyone, tolerating people being rude to me, living this great little mantra that my mom taught me: be the better person. Be the better person, Amy. It's okay. And I love my mom. Be the better person, Amy. If you let people do things to you, just know you got to be the better person. So it's okay to let the neighbors dump on you, or it's okay to let someone at work do this to you. It's okay for this to you be the better person. And you know what? Guess what I found? Living in a space where I was constantly giving service to everyone else. I was making dinners for everyone else. I was taking care of everyone else's needs, donating things to everyone else. I'm putting myself last, allowing other people to trample all over me, going to family parties with people that I don't want to be around to make everyone happy. Guess what I did? I never reached full enlightenment, that's for dang sure. I didn't reach full anything except for exhaustion. I never reached this beautiful spiritual place where I was happy, because I was putting so much pressure on myself to be this perfect serving person at all expenses, at all costs. As long as I was taking care of everyone else, then that was what was successful for me, and I was completely unhappy. I didn't want anyone to see that my marriage was a catastrophe. I didn't want to be open and honest and say, hey, I'm in a really narcissistic, abusive relationship with my spouse. That was a really hard thing to live with. I mean, my husband passed away and I jumped into a narcissistic, abusive relationship. Do you think I want to go around telling people that? Hey, look what I did. Woohoo! No, I was in a bad place and I was severely depressed. And David looked like a life raft for me. He was the only person that understood and wasn't judging me. Now do I sit and feel sorrow and feel guilt and waddle in my tears about all that? No. Because I sit with my shadow and I realize, like, wow, that was a really ugly, nasty 4 years of literally living in hell. And then having my daughter pass away. I literally went from the hell of my husband dying to living in a complete horrifying marriage to going through the ultimate hell of having my daughter die to absolutely wanting to just be done with everything. And before I went on my journey and before I found this beautiful process, guess what? It ate me alive. I would wake up in the middle of the night having an anxiety attack, reliving everything and being so overwhelmed with regret and remorse about decisions that I had made and where my life had gone. And now I sit with it and I'm like, you know what? All this stuff happened. Yeah. I feel it. They're not shadows anymore. They're part of who I am. I'm not running around with this big, ugly, deep shadow anymore. I've turned everything that is into my shadow is a part of me and I own it. And now I can look at everything that I have. I lost my relationship with my son for 2 years. We didn't even talk. And he was 13 years old. So that was horrifying, right? And now we have a relationship again. I've watched, and I don't even know if I've ever even told Dave this. And I'm probably going to cry, which is, allowed. I have watched Dave go from an absolutely super lost soul that no one on the outside looking in would never know. Unless you were really close to him, you never would have known. I watched him go from a person that absolutely could not find happiness in anything to now being the person that looks at me when I start getting overwhelmed. Is like, babe, clear it out. It's okay. Clear it out. Breathe it. Feel it. Breathe it out. And then I'm like, this is fantastic. And the other day I asked him, I'm like, you know why people say all the time, can people that are narcissistic and are really abusive change? Like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And he'll give you like the textbook answer of, well, I loved you so much and I didn't want to lose you. I don't believe that one because there were lots of times where I threatened to leave and nothing changed. And then, ultimately the passing of our daughter is what really did it for us. I think it both just brought us to like our knees and allowed us to grow. But we focused on ourselves, which before I would have been like, what now? If a therapist would have been like, hey guys, I want you to your relationship, I want you to go home and don't worry about what each other are doing. Focus on yourselves. And I want you to write down what your ultimate end goal is. And then you both just get there. And that's what we did. And here we are. Right? We both figured out how to vibrate on a higher frequency. And now we can have a relationship that's healthy. Whereas before we were just constantly doing this, right? Because we're both vibrating on such low frequencies. It was almost like we'd get close and just electrocute each other. And we would just create drama and, literal chaos in our home. And I didn't want that for my kids to see. I don't want that for my 5-year-old to grow up in, right? And so we both have made those conscientious decisions, and it's been a beautiful process to watch. It hasn't been a beautiful process, I would say, to live through, but it has been a beautiful process to watch. There is nothing perfectly easy about anything that I've been through. I know sometimes people look at me and they're like, well, you're just so happy. Okay, I fought to get here. I fought the long road. Someone told me the other day, they said, so how long did it take you to get to your healing place with the body code? And I was like, whoa, if I would have had the body code when I started, which is the methodology that I practice, had I had the body code when I started, I would have made it to this spot in probably like 6 months instead of 3 years, honestly. Because I was doing the same thing, but not systematically. And it wasn't until I came across it that I really realized like the potential and the overall effect that it can have on people. But things happen to us for a reason and in a space and in a time. So I'm not sure that if I would have ran across the body code when I first started my journey, if I would have accepted it and acknowledged it and embraced it like I did now, right? That's sitting with your shadow. That's sitting with your shadow. because I could look at it and be like, whoa, this is crap. If I would have found this, I would have saved myself, blah, 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 right? And then what am I doing? I'm complaining. No, sit with your shadow. It's not a mistake that I ran into this when I did. It's happened for a reason. The universe, the higher authority, God gave this to me when I needed it, when I was ready for it. The time was right. Time was right, just like it's right for you when it's right for you to bloom, when it's right for you to come out of this, when it's right, just like for the client that I worked with, to share this beautiful, raw, vulnerable post on her page to help other people heal. And that's what it's all about. It's about creating this beautiful journey that is very unique to you and is not anybody else's. And it's accepting all those things that you've been told are so wrong about yourself and feeling them and being like, no, someone just put this stupid agreement in my head. And I don't have to keep it back there as a shadow. Bring it forward. Feel it. Feel your mistakes. Understand that they're part of what makes you who you are. None of us make it through life without making mistakes. And if you're looking at someone and you're like, they've never done anything wrong, you just don't know. You don't know about the things that they're suppressing in their closet. Right? Things are never what they look like. And second of all, don't compare yourself to others because that's just no, right? No good. All right, you guys. That's what I have for you tonight. I really, truly hope that this has helped someone to understand like why it's so important. Vibrating on a higher level. Stop suppressing your shadow. Stop feeling guilty about things. Stop feeling bad for having thoughts that are you're like embarrassed, right? Let them go. Sit with them, feel them, being like, yeah, man, I do think that sometimes I'm numb and I don't want to love anybody. I do. You'll be amazed at when you do that. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and be like, whoa, I just thought that. And I feel like it just is way less than it was a minute ago. It's amazing how you do that. And it just thinking about it, embracing it, acknowledging it allows you to release just by doing that. Because if I sit and suppress it and fight it, then it just hangs out there and it becomes bigger and it becomes an overwhelming thing. Okay. You're not a bad person for being a human being. You're not a bad person for having thoughts that you're like, whoa, and if it helps you, use a pen and paper, write it down, have a notebook that you're like, man, if anybody ever reads this, right? Everyone should have a notebook like that. The whole point is get it out there, blow your notebook up, be like total real and raw. Nobody should be reading it. So if you need to lock it away somewhere, there's nothing wrong with being real and vulnerable in a journal. It's a great way to get that out there. And if it bothers you and you're like really freaking out that you can't expressively write because you're so afraid someone's going to find it, burn the papers. Use it as a like release. Okay, I'm going to write all this down. Be raw and real. Light it on fire. Let it go. Keep it all together and burn it on a full moon. Have yourself a little release party, whatever. Okay. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your life. Thank you for watching me. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for giving me the beautiful opportunity to help you on your journey. There is nothing that fills my cup more than getting a message from someone and saying, you're never going to believe what just happened. Those are my favorite. You're never going to believe what just happened to me. And you're right, I won't, because no matter how many of you tell me this beautiful thing just happened, I still am like in awe and amazement of it. But it really is. It's all about starting to vibrate on this higher level. You start attracting things better, situations. Like I worked on someone the other day and I was amazed myself because I was like, you know what? Let's treat this situation like it's a person. Let's treat the situation like it's an energy, and we release some stuff from the situation. And she literally messaged me today and was like, you're never going to believe what just happened. And I'm like, okay. And it was associated with her situation. It's amazing. Believe it, you guys. Energy is so fantastic and so very powerful. And when you can tap into that, When you can tap into that and you start realizing how divine you are and the amazing things that you can do surrounding yourself, you literally are unstoppable. All right. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for joining. I hope you have a beautiful night, and I will see you in the morning.